Welcome to the Clarity Advisor Show, where you'll learn how to grow your team today. Join Ken Trupke and his guests as they discuss what works and doesn't work to grow your team in today's world. And now, your host, Ken Trupke.
Hello, and welcome to the Clarity Advisor Show. If you've recently started a business or have been thinking about starting a business, you probably have a ton of questions and are looking for answers from someone who, like you, is in the arena playing the game. My guest today, Ryan Atkinson, started his own business, Spacebar Visuals. Spacebar helps clients grow their sales through video marketing. Ryan is also the host of the UpFlip Podcast, a show dedicated to uncovering how great businesses are built. So here to share more about starting and building successful businesses, welcome Ryan Atkinson. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. Super excited to be here today and do this with you. You got an awesome show. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity, more importantly.
Oh, you're welcome. So Spacebar Visuals, who do you serve and what do you guys do for people?
Yeah, so Spacebar Visuals, who we serve first off, we serve primarily software companies, marketing directors, VP of marketing, CMO, company size anywhere from like 11 to 250 employees or so. The problem we're solving is I used to be a marketer myself. As a marketer, you wear 30,000 different hats. You have ads you need to run, you have social, you have campaigns, you have lead scoring, you have 30,000 things you want to do. You want to do video, but you just don't have the time, you don't have the resources, you don't have the energy to do it. So what we do at Spacebar Visuals is we handle the whole video production process for clients. So we do the script writing, we do the storyboard, we do the animation, we also provide the voiceover. So in short, we help busy marketers get amazing videos that they can use on their website and everywhere else.
Terrific. And what makes you unique from other video marketing production companies?
Yeah, so video marketing, we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're not the first mover in this. It is a very diluted market. There are a ton of companies that do it. What really sets us apart, I believe, is our process and like our care for customers. I genuinely love working with startups and companies to like make them successful through video. And I feel like they can feel that and our employees can feel that as well. All of our interactions this is what I say, like you have to be over the top to get over the top results. So I always encourage like our employees and like all of our interactions with customers to really make sure you're providing exceptional service. I don't know what our actual retention rate is, but once a video project is done, we actually have I'd say over 60 to 70% retention rate on companies getting more videos. And so that's been a nice little revenue unlock for us of recent, but so we try to really provide an amazing service really fast and very responsive as an agency.
Terrific. Okay, well, let's take a step back and tell me about your career. A lot of people want to start a business, have thought about a business, maybe have an idea for a business. What were you doing and how did you get the idea for Spacebar? And tell me about how you got where you are now.
Yeah, great question. So I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. My stepdad, he has a flooring business. My mom runs her own hair salon. My dad does Airbnbs. So like I've always been surrounded by like very entrepreneurial parents. So I always kind of knew I was going to go down that route eventually, honestly. But basically how I got so interested in entrepreneurship is going into my senior year of college, I started a podcast called The Business Cloud, where I was interviewing entrepreneurs, executives, just to learn a little bit more about their businesses, their business ideas, how they succeed, just advice that they have for people that want to start their companies young in their career. So did that for about 3 years. When I was right after graduation, then I moved out to I moved out to Boston to work for HubSpot in a sales role. HubSpot's a phenomenal company, a phenomenal sales organization. So I was very lucky to do that. So worked there for about 11, 12-ish months or so, and then moved over to a marketing role when I was about 23, 24. And that was manufactured. I wanted to have that sales background, but I also wanted to have that marketing background as well because I knew I wanted to start my own company. So was doing that. And about 2 years ago now, November 2022, I was just scrolling on Twitter and I came across a tweet of my co-founder was like, hey, like just sold my last company, want to start another company, DM me if you're interested. And me being bright-eyed, bushy-tail, I was like, hey, like I actually want to do that. So DM'd him, we hit it off, and we kind of landed on video marketing for a business that we want to tackle together. So that's the short story of a long story on how I got started.
So it was somebody that you knew or didn't know on Twitter?
I didn't know. And what's funny is I didn't even follow him on Twitter. This is just like fate that someone that I did follow quoted him and was like, this is a great opportunity. And I remember like working that day, like I was on Twitter at like 11 a.m. But I remember just seeing that. I was like, oh, like what do I have to lose? So I sent him over an email, sent him over a little video as well, going over my resume, and yeah, just kind of hit it off from there.
Well, that's terrific. So now just following up on that then, so you guys were in the same city or not? So has it all been virtual, or did you get together physically, or how did this all come about?
Yeah, great. Great question. So November 2022, he is based in New York. And so basically what happened is I sent him over my resume. He's like, hey, can you jump on a call next week? Whatever. Jumped on a call and just kind of talked about like my background and like what I'm interested in as well. And his name is Brandon. He's awesome. He's a phenomenal co-founder to have. I'm very lucky to basically have as best business mentor, someone who's already sold their agency. He's 5 years older than me. So it's kind of like a perfect like mix of like what you want out of a mentor. But he's based in New York. So we met in November 2022. December 2022, we were basically like, okay, what business ideas do we have? Like, what do we want to do? We both had media background. He both worked in media. And then I also had my business cloud, the business cloud podcast. So kind of new media. We wanted to sell to marketers just because marketers are awesome and I love talking with them. And then 4, we wanted to sell to software companies. And so we identified who we wanted to sell to. And then we identified, what trends are out there? And video marketing we came up with 3 ideas. 1 was a newsletter growth agency. Number 2 was a ghostwriting agency. And number 3 was a video marketing agency. And just with all the trends with video, we're like, let's do video marketing for SaaS companies.
So I just got to pause because I'm so fascinated by the idea of finding a co-founder to co-found a business that you don't know what the business is. That step 1 is get together and then we'll figure it out. I love that.
Yeah, it was, I'm a very opportunistic person. So if I see an opportunity, like I'm going to run with the opportunity. So once I saw the tweet, I like immediately sent him my resume and sent him a video, like just covering my resume and who I am. Didn't even know if it was going to lead anything, honestly. Like I was doing some freelance stuff on the side. And I was like, this is like kind of the next step with it. So didn't even know if it'd lead anything. Didn't even know who Brandon was at the time. But got on the call and his alignment with what he wanted to do was aligned with what I wanted to do. So yeah, it was kind of a perfect partnership.
Yeah, that's great.
I was very lucky that I found that tweet, by the way. Like I would acknowledge that and be mindful of that.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some serendipity there. So, and I like the way you guys niched it down too. It's not just video marketing, but video marketing for software companies. And, try to break it down even further so that you're not just another X out there among all the other people doing X.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just because I worked at HubSpot, obviously we sell primarily to SaaS companies. And then at my marketing role, we were selling to healthcare systems, but we were a software product. So I always was just within SaaS. So what we really looked at is like, what's our past experiences and where does it align? And that's kind of how it aligned on software companies, media, and then who we sold to. Is just, those are kind of what we rode with once we identified those strengths that we both had.
Yeah, that idea of defining your customer ahead of time too. Who do we want to work with, and wanting to work with marketers, and so targeting them. Yeah, I just love the specificity of that, like to figure out exactly what we're trying to do. And you can always get bigger, and I would imagine if you haven't already, at some point you'll target non-marketers or you'll target non-SaaS software companies. But for now, you're going to stay in your lane until you really get it down pat.
Yeah, it's a really good thought. And like, I'm only 25 years old. So like, I am not perfect by any means when it comes to SEO. I'm the farthest thing from perfect. So I'm learning every day. One thing that we have had those conversations about is like, what are other lines of business that we can open up to? Is it offering SEO? Is it offering paid ads? That type of stuff. And it's like, well, no, like our videos are actually super good. Let's just offer it to different industries. So that's actually a Q4 initiative we have, is expanding our our industry offering from just SaaS companies. So maybe looking at some of like those home service businesses or businesses like that are just a little bit different than software, but also need video.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of figuring out who you are and who you aren't at first.
Yeah.
And then you can move on, you can kind of pivot on any of those axes. You can either pivot on, what other industries or other, not just marketers or not just software, but other types of business, or not just video, but other types of service. Like any of those three things, you can say, well, let's do more different things in that area. So like of the three things, let's stay with two and pivot onto a third. And kind of anchor on two and expand on one. And it doesn't really matter which one you do. I see what you guys are thinking there of, we really like the video, so let's find other industries where we could apply this video. And for now, stay with marketers as the target audience. Yeah, really well done. I think that's a great lesson for people who have a business idea, because so often, and I know you've seen this too, I'm going to be everything to everybody. Like, who's your market? Well, anybody who needs anything, or maybe I'll narrow it down and say anybody who needs a video. Well, you just got to keep narrowing it down. You can't be everything to everybody, at least at first. You got to get good at one thing, really tightly niched, and then you can start growing it out.
Yeah, exactly. I think like niching down to like exactly who you want to sell to. Like, it's one thing to be, we want to sell video, but you need to get down to like to software companies and then actual like job titles. So like, if you are wanting to start a business, like think about those specific criteria that you want to go after and who the end user is. For us, selling to marketers is much different than selling to technical people, like a chief engineer, whatever their title is. Like, it's just totally different personas and questions that they're going to ask. And so definitely think about that when you are building your company. Like, who is that end user and what is that sales process going to look like? You're obviously going to learn as you go, but yeah, thinking about that end user before you get started with the company, I think is a great start.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, let's talk about your team. How big and what kinds of roles do you have right now?
Yeah, great question. So we are a team of, give or take, including like voiceover actors and some people we have about 12 to 14 people on the team. Really what it comes down to is we have one growth lead. So he handles like a lot of our sales. Cody is amazing. I'm so thankful that he joined the team. We have 2 customer success managers then. So 2 of them, they'll handle like all of our client relations, like moving the project along, kind of like customer success, project manager. They do a whole lot of stuff. That's Matt and Nicole. They are both amazing. And then you have basically a BDR intern where he's starting to do like cold calling for us as well, working alongside Cody. Then you just have a bunch of our storyboard artists, and all of our talent is over in Eastern Europe. So that is where we're sourcing our talent for the amazing videos that we're doing. So we've got Anna, we've got Mohammed, we've got them on the design team. And then on the voiceover team, you have like Rex, Kara, Kitty's her name, or that's like her nickname, what we call her. So it's around 10 to 12, 12 to 10 to 14, somewhere around there. Once you include all of them as well.
Okay. So you guys probably didn't start and go from 2 people to 14 people. So tell me a little bit about that process of when were you ready to hire that first person, and what position was that? And then so on, as you added people, how did you walk me through a little bit of that process of how you think about bringing people on, and then which positions you actually brought on and kind of in what order?
Yeah, Ken, I will say hiring has been like the most unexpected challenge I've had as like a CEO and founder. It is so hard to find good talent and then also like retain them and also like set them up for success. I am still learning. Honestly, it's a weakness of mine. Like, I need to get better at hiring, like onboarding people. A lot of steps to be taken there, but like I said, I'm 25. I'm mindful that I have a lot of steps to take here. But how we thought about it, so Cody was basically like our first employee, and he actually reached out to us first. He reached out to Brandon, my co-founder, and was like, hey, I see you're doing a bunch of cool stuff. Like, if you ever have any openings, let me know. I'll work for free. So he was a senior at Lamar University, and that message hit our inbox about November last year, actually. We were like, do we want to? And I was like, whatever, we'll pay him, of course, but like, let's bring him on. So we brought Cody on as like our first intern basically in January. And he was just doing a bunch of BDR stuff, and he was a home run hire for us. Like, he is amazing. He works with integrity, truly lives by a lot of our company values, but he leads a lot of our sales stuff. We brought Matt on as BDR. Wasn't a total skill set fit, but we needed a customer success manager. So we just kind of pivoted him to that. And he's been amazing for that. So in short, how we approach it basically is when do we need to expand on something? When do we know something works, and how do we get more people to do that? So we brought in our new BDR intern. Cody's been doing a ton of stuff for us, and we kind of know what works enough to bring someone on and really pour fuel on the fire when it comes to that area. On the customer success side, it's more like, does Matt have a lot of projects? Let's bring on Nicole. Is his time being capped? On the design side, it's how many videos do we have? Are processes being slowed down because people are taking too long? All that stuff. So basically how we think about it is, are you capped with what you're doing? Can we hire someone to help you do it, in short?
Okay. That's a great approach, because as you get capacity, or as you hit capacity, you figured out that something's working. You just need more of it. And at some point you need another person to come in and do that. So I'm sure not everything has been smooth. Tell me about some of the things you've learned as you've grown your team.
Oh gosh, the list could go on and on and on. I think one thing that of recent that I've been thinking about, of course, like managing cash flow. That's one of the hardest things of the business as well. I think hiring and managing cash flow, two huge unexpected challenges of like sending out the invoice and actually getting paid, making sure you have enough money in the bank to hit the payrolls, to hit expenses, all that stuff. Super hard problem to figure out. I think one other thing that I've really learned this past 2 quarters would say we invested about $28,000. About $28,000 in newsletter ads in 2024. We took some very big bets with companies and they didn't pay off, but we just kept kind of doubling down on newsletters, saying like, eventually this is going to work. We don't have a positive ROI from that channel this year. So it's really thinking about, one company we spent $20,000 on newsletter ads with upfront costs throughout 2024. The other one we did like $5,000. Another one we did like $3,000. A lesson that I've learned is taking smaller bets and making those bets a little bit more controllable. So instead of investing it in newsletters where it can be the wild, wild west, what we're wanting to do is double down on outbound, because we know we can do outbound and we know we can do it really well. So finding tools to enhance our outbound efforts is what we're thinking about in Q4, making those smaller bets. So not making such big bets, making smaller bets and making those bets a little bit more controllable has been a lesson learned that comes to mind of Q3 and Q4.
Yeah, Jim Collins has, among the many great Jim Collins concepts, is first bullets, then cannonballs. The idea being you take small shots, exactly what you said, hit a smaller hole, and then when you figured something out, now you can bring in the big artillery and do it at scale.
That's really good. So yeah, that's honestly a lesson learned. So what we know outbound works, we know we can control outbound a little bit more. So let's double down on that and let's actually do that. It's going to lower our costs, and I think it's actually, I know it will increase like our revenue based on that. So very bullish we'll do an outbound from that standpoint. But that's one I've learned, and hiring, of course, learning just leadership in general. There's a whole lot of lessons learned as an entrepreneur. And you always learn it when you're down. You never learn them when you're up. You always learn them when you're down.
Oh yeah, we learn best from painful mistakes. Hopefully you can learn from other people's painful mistakes, but yeah, you get pretty smart when things aren't going well. And I actually just heard that again on another show, that somebody was mentioning that same concept, because when things are going well, it's not clear why it's going well necessarily. But when things aren't going well, that's when you can really break it down and do some investigation as to what's wrong and how we fix it. And that's really where the lessons come in. When things are going right, you're glad they're going well, but it's harder to know what lesson I'm supposed to be taking away from this. What should I be doing more of that's working here, especially if there's multiple things going on. So yeah, for sure. It's hard when you're in the middle of it, but on the other side of you're like, oh, we learned so much through that really painful time. I don't want to repeat it, but I sure learned a lot. So,
and yeah, I know looking back on it in 5 years, I'm going to be super thankful that I learned those lessons when I did. When I'm 30, I'll be very thankful that I learned some of these lessons early on. But another one that actually comes to mind, and what I learned from the UpFlip podcast, is know your metrics and reverse engineer your metrics for predictable revenue. So in theory, or in practice, what this looks like is how many emails do you send? How many emails do you send, and how many emails does it take for you to book a client? Let's just say it sends 100 emails to book one client. That'd be literally amazing. But just for simplicity of math, basically, if you know you need to send 100 emails to book one client, and then from how many booked clients do you have a closed deal. So let's just say you have 50% win rate. Basically, you need to send about 200 emails to book 2 emails, and you'll close one of that client. That being able to reverse engineer your metrics like that has been super helpful for us, because that's when you're kind of on goal, you're not on par, you're above average, below average. I think that's another really good lesson that I've learned as well.
Yeah, that's another, for sure, thing that you need to do in your business, that people sometimes skip that step and are floundering and don't necessarily know why. And yeah, if you don't, because then you can set goals. You can say, well, we know we need to add 3 clients this month in order to hit our revenue targets. And so that reverse engineering in your example, now we know we need to send 600 emails to get those 3 new clients. So, hey, you mentioned BDR a couple times. Just for those who might not know what that is, can you tell me a little bit about what that stands for and what that role is?
Yeah, of course. So that's a business development representative. It could be a sales development representative, SDR. Basically what it is you're getting your hands dirty. I'm not going to lie, you're grabbing a shovel and you're digging pretty deep, in the sense of you're making 35 cold calls a day. You're sending a ton of emails. You're hearing no 10x more than you're hearing yes. It's a very, very hard role. It's the role that I had when I was at HubSpot. So I know what it takes to actually succeed in that role and like what good looks like. So sales is actually like one of the most things I'm passionate about and like I feel confident in at Spacebar Visuals, is like having a very sound sales process that starts with our BDR all the way down to our closing process. So BDR makes cold calls, sends a ton of emails, hears no a lot, sets meetings. That's kind of what the role looks like.
Okay, thanks. So you mentioned UpFlip, and I want to talk about that. We'll do that on the other side of the break. So stay with us. We're talking with Ryan Atkinson of Spacebar Visuals on the Clarity Advisor Show.
Is your business where you want it to be or on track to get there? Clarity Advisors helps business leaders improve communication and get your team aligned and engaged for greater success. We specialize in helping you streamline your sales and operating systems to improve efficiency and grow your profits. Call or text Ken at 616-822-2998 to have a complimentary 12-minute call to see what some clarity could do for you.
Okay, welcome back to the Clarity Advisor Show. Today we're talking with Ryan Atkinson, the founder of Spacebar Visuals. And Ryan, you're also the host of the UpFlip Podcast. So tell us about that.
Yeah, the UpFlip Podcast is a great resource. UpFlip in general is a great resource. It really expands into 3 different areas. You have the UpFlip Academy, which provides like workshops, programs, mentorship. You have the UpFlip YouTube channel, has like 1.17 million subscribers on YouTube. Amazing video content there on how to start a business. And the UpFlip Podcast is just based off of that as well. So on the UpFlip Podcast specifically, what we do is we interview entrepreneurs, people that kind of have a little bit more service-based businesses. Think of like window washing, cleaning. We've had oyster farming on there, like window washing, like all that type of stuff. So that's primarily the interviews that we have on the UpFlip Podcast. And we're just trying to provide resources for people to start their first companies, give them those business ideas, and give them the actual steps to actually start those business ideas.
Yeah, I've been a listener for, I don't know, probably more than a year now. And I love that it's a combination of young entrepreneurs. And by young, I mean people in their 20s that started a business, and you have them walk through their story and how they got started and the lessons they've learned. And those are always really interesting to hear how they got there and their entrepreneurial journey. And then you also will pull in some kind of veterans, people that have built businesses or are in the process of building a much bigger business, and then the lessons that they learned. And so it's both people at the beginning and then people that are down the road a bit. And so I just found it to be a great resource for a lot of good lessons on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we like really try to do. Like we've had some people that are around my age and they have like clothing service businesses, but we've also had people, one of my first ones that comes to mind is Rand Fishkin. He's the founder of like SEO Moz, which is a humongous SEO like platform. So we really can have it range. All of the podcasts that we do try to do, like we want to give you actionable steps for people to actually listen and be like, oh, like that's an idea that I can take and like run with. So when I try to host them, I try to make them like actual steps. Like, what are 3 things someone can actually take away from this? So yeah, it's a great resource from the podcast. The YouTube channel is honestly so amazing. I think it's one of the best business focused content channels out there. Then the Academy, we're really getting started with that as well. So 3 different resources for people to really succeed in their first business and other businesses as well.
Yeah, and we talked about this off air, but tell me the story of how you got the gig as the host of that show.
Yeah, so again, my life is kind of filled with luck. I am very mindful of that. I'm very thankful for the opportunities that people take on me. So I just want to set the stage here. This is kind of a lucky story as well. But basically, I was podcasting. I started my the Business Cloud 2020. Was that 2020? 2021, going to my senior year of school. That was 2020, actually. Going into my senior year of college, I've always loved entrepreneurship. I love reading books about entrepreneurs. I just love like the whole entrepreneurship thing. I did that for about 2.5 years. And then I started just put my profile on UpFlip or on Upwork, which is a freelancing profile. I was like, hey, like I'm a podcast host. Like if someone needs a podcast host, like you can hire me. Got my first podcast gig with Tech Guide. I'm still doing that one as well. And then basically this past March, so about 7-8 months ago, whatever time frame that is, UpFlip reached out like, hey, we need a podcast host. They reach out to me through the platform, and next thing you know, kind of luck will have it, I'm the UpFlip podcast host now. So I'm super thankful for it. One, because I get kind of back to my roots of the Business Cloud of interviewing entrepreneurs. So now I just get to be paid for it, which I'm very thankful for.
Yeah, that's great. It is funny how you've gotten these opportunities seemingly randomly, but I would also suggest that you're the guy that's putting yourself out there. You know, you were doing the work of your own podcast for years before this came about, and you reached out to the guy who had the DM out there on Twitter about, you know, the business opportunity and partnership. And so it's not like you're sitting at home playing video games on your couch and the phone rings and it's this huge opportunity. I mean, you're out there doing things and things are coming your way. So you get some of the credit too here.
Yeah. No, I do appreciate that. I will say, like, you kind of manufacture your own luck. One way to do that on Twitter, honestly, that was pretty lucky that I just came across this tweet. But for like getting this UpFlip gig and like other gigs that I get through Upwork, like I made a profile 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago now. Like I just was on that platform. I had my page optimized to be a podcast host. So it wasn't complete luck that they found me. There was a little bit of like SEO play, and just I put in so many reps before then to actually get this gig. A little bit of luck, a little bit of manufacturing that luck though by actually putting in the work. So you can never really substitute hard work and putting yourself out there as an entrepreneur, and honestly just someone that wants to do stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll give you another Jim Collins. He said that everybody gets a certain amount of luck in their life. And the question isn't, will you get this much luck, good luck or bad luck? It's what do you do with it? That when the good things happen, what do you do with it? When the bad things happen, how do you respond to it? That's the differentiator in the research that he had done. It wasn't these companies had better luck and these companies had worse luck. It was what did people do with both their good and bad opportunities? And so, yeah, that's I think that's partly your story there. So, well, so you have interviewed dozens of entrepreneurs, and you mentioned metrics as one of the themes that you've picked up on, that's something that you want to make sure you did in your business. What were some other things that you've learned from interviewing all these business people?
Yeah, so I have interviewed people that are $10 in revenue all the way up to like $100 million in revenue. Some have done some have done like $1 billion plus in revenue in their lifetimes as founders. A common thing that comes to mind is know your metrics and be able to reverse engineer those metrics to set you up for success. 2, there's a really big emphasis on culture, honestly. A lot of these companies that have scaled, they put company culture in place, and they have, here are our core values, and they actually live by them. That's something we actually just started in Q4 here as well, is we had our core values established in like Q2. They just went away. We didn't really revisit them. We didn't really talk about them. Now on our weekly calls, we talk about those core values every week. How did you live by them? What are you planning to do this week to live by them? So I'm really trying to instill a culture here. Number 3 is honestly hiring. A lot of them have talked about how hiring is hard, but you need to get it right. So that's a big step that I'm trying to take as well. But reverse engineering your metrics, have a strong company culture, one that people can lean on, that you revisit often. And 3, like hiring is hard, yes, but you need hiring to succeed. Put people in the right positions, fill those positions, and then retain the talent as well. So those are kind of three that stick out to me. With the UpFlip and all the other ones I've done, there's so many good business ideas out there. That's a whole nother thing, but I think those are the three that really stick out to me.
Oh, those are great. Yeah, thanks for those. So, well, Ryan, as we wrap up, I know you're really out there learning and trying to get up to speed on so many different things for your own entrepreneurial journey, as well as the interviews you've done. What are you reading or listening to, whether that's podcasts or audiobooks or what have you, but what are you consuming these days to continue to grow yourself?
Yeah, great question. So definitely listen to the UpFlip podcast. That's my resource for listening. On the book side, though, I read a ton of business biographies and just business books in general. Like right now, I'm reading the Walt Disney biography by Neil Gabriel, I believe. That's a great resource. I read the John Rockefeller biography in August. So I read a lot of business biographies. I think that's like a great way to like learn. You kind of learn what made other people successful, what made them fail, how they got through it. So if you need business biographies, I think Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson is definitely my favorite. Another fun one is the Grubhub one by Mike Evans. I don't know the name of it. I'm blanking on it right now. Third one is Richard Branson's biography, Losing My Virginity. Phenomenal book. And that's a book about fun, building Virgin Mobile, all the Virgin stuff that Richard Branson does. But those are three that come to mind. Read a ton of business biographies, listen to the UpFlip podcast, just try and stay sharp that way.
Oh, that's terrific. Yeah, I'm such a huge fan of biographies because as you read them, the theme comes out that everybody's life wasn't just up and to the right. It wasn't all super easy, super fast, super simple, that they overcame obstacles. And get back to this idea of good luck and bad luck coming your way, challenges and obstacles as well as opportunities. And what did they do with that? And how did they overcome those things? And I've just found them to be very inspiring that you learn. It's both edifying to know like, oh, I'm not alone in facing a bunch of challenges in my career, but also, oh, they overcame that. And then look who they became. And, if it's possible for them, it's possible for me. And, let's go.
It is never linear. I am curious I'm going to turn the podcast mic over to you. What are some of your favorite business biographies?
The Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, the Nike guy. I thought that was a really well done book. I've read the Jobs biography. That was interesting. I also just read Isaacson's biography of Elon Musk. And I would say that's a great place to start just because it's so current that Elon's still in the news, in business, multiple businesses. And it's just, It's really interesting. His origin story, what he faced growing up in South Africa and kind of how he became Elon Musk. And then, and the intensity of what he does and how he does it. It's interesting. I think there's also some cautionary tales in there. I think there's some things that you say like, wow, I really want to avoid having that happen in my life. Because not everything he's touched has turned to gold and not everything he's done is something that I think people might want in their own life. And so, but that's everybody. We've all got messy lives and we've all got stuff that, didn't go the way we thought again. And so reading these things, it's interesting and helpful.
Elon Musk's biography by him is so good. If you want to go down that Isaacson thread again, the Leonardo da Vinci book, I think I love the Steve Jobs one. Leonardo da Vinci one might have been one of the best books I've ever read. I genuinely feel the excitement that Walter Isaacson writes about in this book. And Leonardo da Vinci was unbelievably ahead of his time. That book is so good. I would highly recommend that one if you like Walter Isaacson as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I've read that one as well. So we'll get all those books in the show notes. I love that you're a fan of biographies. So we'll have the links to those, including the Grubhub one that you can't think of. And I haven't read that one, so I'll be interested to know what that is too. So Ryan, as we wrap up then, who should reach out to you and what would be the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I mean, anyone can reach out to me. If you're a marketer, you want video, of course, reach out to me. If you're just a listener and you want to run entrepreneurial ideas, reach out to me. You can just go to visit my LinkedIn, Ryan Atkinson, CEO, Spacebar Visuals. There should only be one, maybe there's two, but you'll find the right profile.
All right, terrific. Well, I got to say, this has been a really enjoyable conversation. I so appreciate our interactions over the last however long we've been talking. And I'm so glad to get you on the show. And a big fan of UpFlip Podcast. I can't recommend that enough for whether you're new to business and starting out your entrepreneurial journey, or you're in business and you're a leader in a company, whatever. There's just so many good ideas that people share on that. That's just such a good resource. So I appreciate you leading that and being the host of that show. Again, just thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. You're a great podcast host. This is a great resource in itself for people. So yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, that's very kind. Well, I appreciate that. And you're very welcome. Appreciate you being here. So thanks, Ryan. And that brings us to the end of another Clarity Advisors show. If you could be so kind as to share this with someone that might benefit from listening. And also, of course, leave a review on the platform you're watching or listening. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Clarity Advisors show. Clarity Advisors is a speaking, training, and consulting firm specializing in helping you simplify your sales and operating systems to improve efficiency and grow your profits. Connect with Clarity Advisors today to learn more about how they can help you improve communication and get your team aligned and engaged for greater success.